These two chapters are again very important for your GPAT Niper drug inspector. So a lot of time they used to ask the question frequently from drug treatment of asthma and related diseases. So it's again very important chapter. So first we will see regarding the respiratory system, and then we will start drug treatment of asthma. So first we'll try to revise quickly respiratory system. So first of all, respiratory system is again a one important system of your body, okay, that controls the respiration and cellular metabolic reactions. Your body has numerous cells, and each and every cell requires energy for survival. Each and every tissue cells system require energy for survival. And you know that most of the metabolic reactions, whatever metabolic reactions that occurs in our body, that mostly they are catalyzed in presence of oxygen. So oxygen is very important for the metabolic reactions of body, and the system deals with the exchange of gases. So this is a respiratory system. The main function of this system is to exchange the gases. Where will be this exchange of gases will take place? Whatever gases are there in the atmosphere, so that atmospheric gases also has oxygen. So that oxygen is taken up from the atmosphere inside the body, and the metabolic waste product or carbon dioxide is released from the body. So the oxygen is very important for the survival of your every cell, because every cell needs energy in the form of ATP, and most of the metabolic processes they are dependent on oxygen. So there is the role of respiratory system, that is exchange of gases. It will take oxygen from your atmosphere and it will exchange it with the blood, okay, and then blood will exchange that oxygen with each and every cell, and will take up carbon dioxide, that is a metabolic waste, and it will release into again air in the expired air. So taking air inside the body is known as inspiration, and releasing the air from body to outside is known as expiration. Now this is the main function of your respiratory system, that is exchange of gases and to make available the oxygen for various metabolic processes. Now this respiratory system has a different organs. Now remember here one thing, what is meant by external respiration, what is meant by internal respiration. So that again I will explain in the next slide also. Now first focus on what are the different organs of respiration, organs for respiratory system. So your nose, nasal cavity, okay, nose, okay, nose, then after that, okay, nose, then pharynx, okay, then larynx, and trachea, okay, trachea. It is known as a windpipe. Trachea is also known as a windpipe. Remember. Then this is trachea. Trachea will divide into two bronchi. This is known as a bronchus or bronchi. So nose, larynx, pharynx, trachea, bronchi. Then bronchi will divide into smaller bronchioles. Okay, bronchioles, and then alveoli. Okay, then lungs, two lungs, these two lungs, okay. So no, this nasal cavity, larynx, pharynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveoli, then lungs, and intercostal muscles. So whatever the muscles are there, this is known as the intercostal muscles. So they also helps in the respiration. So these are the organs of respiratory system. So first is nose, then larynx, then pharynx, then trachea. Trachea is a single one known as a windpipe. Then two bronchi from each lung. Okay. Then two lungs separately. Then bronchi will be divided into different bronchioles. Then alveoli. So these are the organs for respiration. Muscle for respiration, that is nothing but the intercostal muscles, including diaphragm and other intercostal muscles. So these together they form a system known as a respiratory system, and through this system you can inspire air inside the body, you can take air inside the body. Okay, there will be exchange of gases in the lungs, alveoli of lungs, and then there will be removal of waste gas like carbon dioxide through expiration. So taking of air inside the body, inspiration, releasing of air from from the body to the outside, known as the expiration. Okay, so these are the organ for respiration. And remember, this is known as a windpipe, trachea. They will divide into different bronchi, right and left bronchi. and okay, the functional unit of this respiratory system, functional unit of respiratory system is known as alveoli. So it is the final destination where there is an exchange of gases from blood to the from air to the blood, and from okay, so it is the place, it is the destination where there is an exchange of gases, alveoli. There is a alveolar sacs, exchange of gases takes place. Now we'll see, I'm not going to explain each and every detail. Whatever you have learned in the semester, you have learned for semester in your class, such kind of lecture will not be there. So I am going to revise the respiratory system to you in quickly. Okay, so just try to understand, try to revise. Now, what is the function of respiratory system? Function of respiratory system. So the main function of respiratory system is nothing but the energy production. So energy is derived from chemical in every cell. Energy is produced in the energy is produced by chemical reactions in every cell by using different metabolic processes. You know that different metabolic processes like glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and all that. So energy is produced by different metabolic processes, and most of the metabolic processes, they are dependent on your oxygen. So energy derived from chemical reactions which can take place in presence of oxygen. Now for this reaction you need oxygen. So main waste product of this metabolic reaction, okay, waste product of metabolic reaction is nothing but the carbon dioxide. So this system provides the route by which there is a supply of oxygen from atmosphere, removal of carbon dioxide, which is a metabolic waste. So energy derived from chemical reaction, remember, which can take place in presence of oxygen, and the main waste product of metabolic reaction is a carbon dioxide. And this system, that is the respiratory system, provides a tool, or it provides a means by which there is a supply of oxygen from environment to your body, and there is a removal of metabolic waste, which is a carbon dioxide. Now there are different kind of respiration. First one is known as the external respiration. What do you mean by external respiration? So external respiration means exchange of gases between lungs and air. So whatever air you are inspiring, so oxygen is taken up from that air into the, okay, into the blood. So exchange of gases between lungs and blood, that is known as external respiration. So atmospheric oxygen is deposited in the blood, that takes place in the lungs, that is known as external respiration. Now what do you mean by internal respiration? So internal respiration means again exchange of gases. That is, exchange of gases means exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Exchange of gases at a cellular level. So each and every cell will get oxygen through a blood. Okay. So that exchange through a blood, every cell will take oxygen, and a cell will deposit carbon dioxide, which is the metabolic waste, in the blood. Okay. Now this respiration is known as internal respiration. There are two type of respiration. External respiration means exchange of gases between blood and lungs, and internal respiration means exchange of gases between blood and each and every cell of your tissue, cell of your body. Now this respiratory system, the organs of respiratory system is divided into two parts. First part is nothing but the upper respiratory tract, which consists of nose, then nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, and upper trachea. So upper respiratory tract में ये organ आएंगे. So upper respiratory tract में आपका nose आएगा, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, and upper trachea. And lower respiratory tract जो आता है, उसमें क्या आता है कि जो bronchi आता है, bronchioles आता है, lungs आते हैं, alveoli आता है, and उसके intercostal muscle. So upper respiratory tract consists of nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, and upper trachea. Okay. Then lower respiratory tract consists of bronchi, lower trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, then lungs, alveoli, and your intercostal muscle. Now what is normal breathing rate? So आप कितना breathe करते हो normally? So we used to breathe 12 to 20 breath per minute. So that is known as a normal breathing rate. ये याद रखो, what is normal breathing rate? 12 to 20 breath per minute. So if it is less than this normal value, it is known as a hypo, that is known as a dyspnea, or absence of breathing for short term is known as a apnea. Now first organ for respiration is nose. It is made up, you know that we have seen in the skeletal system. or you might have read from. So which is made up of bone and cartilage. Air enters through this organ into the, so air enters in the body through this system, or this is nose. Okay, now nasal mucosa, whatever mucosal lining is there in the nose or nose nasal cavity, so that lining is having ciliated epithelium. जो नोज होता है, नोज का जो लाइनिंग होता है, और इनसाइड दिस इनसाइड लाइनिंग जो होता है, दैट इज कंसिस्ट ऑफ ciliated epithelium cells. Now air traveling through this ciliated epithelium lining of nose, whatever dust particles are there, so whatever dust particles are there in the air, so that is removed. So whatever dust particles are there in the inspired air, so that is removed because of this ciliated lining present in the nose. And also nose is also secrete some viscous mucus. Okay, mucus is secreted by nose, and that mucus also get uh, that mucus also deposits that any pollutant or solid particle from the air, that is deposited in the mucus, and clean air that passes through the system, then clean air will give, you will get clean air. So nasal mucosa lining is a ciliated epithelium, and it also have mucus secreting cells known as a globate cells that will produce a mucus. Okay, that will produce a mucus, and with the help of this ciliated lining, ciliated epithelium and globate cells, the particles, solid particles, or any pollutant that will be trapped inside the mucus, and that mucus will be easily removed from the nasal cavity. You will get a clean air. Now during this passage, air is a heated, air is a warm, there is a warming process of air. Clean air warming humidification is there. So whatever air you are inspiring, okay, so that air is humidified, that air is warmed inside your body, then it will go into the lungs. So now this nose, there is a three shelf like or scroll like bones present in the nose, that is known as a conchae. So this arrangement is known as a conchae. So air passing through nose is filtered, it is cleaned and humidified and warmed, so that your lung will get pure air, not any pollutant or not any solid particle. So this conchae part of your nasal system, that is mainly involved in the filtering of this air, cleaning of air, warming, humidification. Globate cell and ciliated lining will filter initially. Globulate cell, whatever mucus produced by globate cell, the solid particles will be trapped in that mucus, and then it will be warmed. Now olfactory nerve is supplied in this area, which is responsible for the smell, which is responsible for the sense of smell. So olfactory nerve वो क्या करेगा, उस स्मेल को एनालाइज करेगा. नाउ नेक्स्ट ऑर्गन फॉर रेस्पिरेशन इज अ pharynx. तो pharynx क्या है, नेक्स्ट ऑर्गन ऑफ रेस्पिरेशन. It is a nothing but the muscular tube. It is a muscular tube present in the uppermost. Okay, it is muscular tube just below your nose. Okay, it continues up to larynx. So pharynx originate from nasal cavity and it will extend up to larynx. It is nothing but the muscular tube. Okay, muscular tube here. Now there are different part of this pharynx. The first part is nothing but the uppermost part known as a nasopharynx. Uppermost part क्या है, nasopharynx. Uppermost part is nasopharynx. Then middle part is known as a oropharynx and lowest part is known as a laryngopharynx. Okay, so laryngopharynx is the inferior, nasopharynx is the superior part. Okay, oropharynx is the middle one. And this pharynx is also having some lymphatic tissue like alenoid and lignal tonsils. So tonsils, whatever tonsils are there, they are nothing but the lymphoid tissue. They will have some lysosomal enzymes and antibodies. So whenever you will get infection, your tonsils will be swollen. That is known as tonsillitis. So it is present in the pharynx. After that, there is another organ for respiration known as the larynx. Larynx. So larynx is known as a voice box. It is known as a voice box, and main function of this larynx is to pass the air between pharynx and trachea. ये क्या है, अभी देखो पहले नजल कैविटी हो गया, उसके बाद में pharynx आ गया, उसके बाद में larynx आ गया. ये larynx और नजल कैविटी के बीच में pharynx कनेक्ट करता है, ट्रकिया और pharynx के बीच में larynx होता है. So larynx is also known as voice box, and it passes the air between pharynx and trachea. Now it is made up of 9 pieces of cartilage connected by ligament. इसमें cartilage होता है. Now what kind of cartilage are there? They used to ask question on this. So what is the largest cartilage present in the larynx? इसके ऊपर question आ चुका है. Remember, largest cartilage of larynx is nothing but the thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage is nothing but the largest cartilage of larynx. Then epiglottis is also there, which is the uppermost cartilage. Then vocal cords are also on the each side of this epiglottis. Epiglottis जो होता है और glottis जो होता है उसकी साइड में vocal cords होती है जिससे आपका sound produce होता है. Because this larynx is known as a sound box or voice box. So remember here, there is the largest cartilage present in the larynx known as a thyroid cartilage. Known as a thyroid cartilage. Now as we have seen, there are 9 different cartilages. So what are these? So there is one thyroid cartilage, one cricoid cartilage, then two arytenoid cartilage, which are of hyaline cartilage type, then one epiglottis which is elastic fibrocartilage. There are 9 type of cartilage present in the larynx. Remember which is the largest one. Largest one is nothing but thyroid cartilage. वो सबसे बड़ा होता है. Then next organ for respiration is trachea. Next organ for respiration is trachea and bronchial tree. Bronchial tree means bronchi, then bronchioles, etc. So primary bronchus is known as a trachea. जो main bronchus होता है एक ही होता है. So that is known as a trachea. Okay, it is around 10 to 13 centimeter. Wall of this trachea consists of around 16 to 70 C-shaped cartilage. तो यहाँ पे cartilage कैसा है C-shaped. So they have already asked question on this in a pharmacist exam. 16 to 20 C-shaped cartilage is present in the one of the following structure. That is nothing but the trachea. So C-shaped cartilage is present in this trachea. Now there are two bronchi, left bronchus and right bronchus for each lungs. And same structure like trachea, these are nothing but the bronchus. Then further these bronchus are divided into bronchioles. The smallest branch of bronchi is known as bronchioles. Then this trachea functions like a mucociliary escalator. जैसे escalator होता है आपका के ऊपर बैठ के आप ऊपर जाते हो, ठीक है, जिसके ऊपर बैठ के आप मॉल में जाते हो. So escalator. So trachea will also function like a mucociliary escalator. So to remove the unwanted product or unwanted debris or cell debris or pollutant from trachea from inside to the, it will move the unwanted content towards the larynx, pharynx, and then it will be wasted. It will be thrown out of the body. Then again, this function of trachea is cough reflex. So anything noxious is there present in the air, or anything noxious is present in the inspired air. आपने जो सांस ली तो सांस में अगर कुछ इरिटेटिंग है, जैसे आपने जैसे आप घर में होता है जब खाना बनाते हैं तब वो स्मेल आता है आपको, चिली का स्मेल, तो आपको खांसी आती है because of that reflex, cough reflex. Then there is a warming humidification of the filtering of the air. Okay, that is the function of trachea. So what is the function of trachea? What type of cartilage are there in? So they might ask question on this. Then next organ for respiration is the lung. So you know that there are two lungs. Okay? There are a pair of lungs. So left lung and right lung. So out of that left lung is a small. Out of that left lung जो होता है वो small होता है. So two lungs are there. Left lung is small because you have to adjust the heart between the lungs. So particularly heart is present in the left side of thoracic cage. So for adjustment of this heart, left lung is small. Okay. Then medial surface of these two lungs. So whatever lungs they are joining together, the medial surface they are known as a hylium or hilus. So when these two lungs are joined together at the point they are known as a hilum or hilus. Okay. Now these lungs have covering. Lungs के ऊपर एक covering रहता है उसको बोलते हैं pleural covering. So there is one covering on the lungs known as a pleural covering, and in between that pleural layers, in between that pleural layers there is a fluid known as a serous fluid. Okay, so serous fluid is present in the pleural cavity, which prevent the friction and keeps the two membrane together during the breathing. तो आप सांस ले रहे हो, सांस छोड़ रहे हो, तो आपका लंग फूल के बाहर फट के बाहर क्यों नहीं आता? बिकॉज ऑफ दैट प्लूरल फ्लूइड, ओके, बिकॉज ऑफ दैट प्लूरल फ्लूइड और सीरस फ्लूइड. So serous fluid or pleural fluid is present in between pleural cavity, which will prevent the friction and keeps two membrane together during breathing. Now, right lung is a large in nature. It is relatively larger than left lung. So right lung is larger and it is divided into three distinct lobes, while left lung has only two lobes. तो जो लेफ्ट लंग होता है उसमें दो लोब होते हैं, राइट लंग जो होता है उसमें थ्री लोब होते हैं. राइट लंग इज relatively larger than left lung. Remember, pulmonary vein will supply blood to the lung. Pulmonary artery will take away blood from the lung. Okay, so there is exactly opposite when we was studying. Now, next organ for respiration is the alveoli, structural and functional unit of your respiratory system. Alveoli is a structural and functional unit. So it is a functional unit of lung. That is nothing but the alveoli, okay, which is like a sac, 150 million of alveoli around they are present in the adult tongue. एक adult tongue में कितना alveoli होता है? 150 million. So it will look like a honeycomb under the microscope. So in the lung, phospholipids are known as a lung surfactant. There are the phospholipids which are present in the lung at that time when we were studying about the phospholipid. I have told you phosphatidylcholine. So phospholipids are present in the lungs, which are known as the lung surfactant, and they prevent the drying of alveoli and prevent the alveolar collapse during expiration. जैसे आप सांस अंदर लेते हो इंस्पायरेशन, सांस बाहर छोड़ना एक्सपायरेशन. तो बाहर लेना अंदर लेना उस टाइम पे जो कोलेप्स भी हो सकता है आपका लंग, if there is no phospholipid present in the lung. So if anybody is not having phospholipid, so he is suffering from this respiratory distress syndrome. So hyaline membrane disease or also known as a respiratory distress syndrome. That means it occurs mainly in the newborns जो infants होते हैं उनमें ये जल्दी मैक्सिमम उनमें आता है. It is a genetic disease. Okay, so in this case the lungs have not produced a sufficient quantity of surfactant, pulmonary surfactant, and because of this absence of pulmonary surfactant, the lungs are collapsed. Lungs are collapsed, known as a hyaline membrane disease or respiratory distress syndrome. तो ये याद रखो, hyaline membrane disease is also known as respiratory distress syndrome, and it is because of the absence or insufficient production of this phospholipids known as the lung surfactant, particularly phosphatidylcholine and all that. So next part is nothing but the intercostal muscles and diaphragm. Next organ for respiration or next part of respiratory system is intercostal muscles, and now these intercostal muscles they will help respiration. They will help for the process of respiration. Whatever air you are inspiring, सांस अंदर ले रहे हो, सांस बाहर छोड़ रहे हो, उसके लिए आपके जो intercostal muscles है, so they are contracting and they are relaxing. That's why you are able to take the air inside and you can pass the air outside. So whatever inspiration and expiration is there, that is possible because of these muscles. So these muscles are nothing but the diaphragm, then external and internal intercostal muscles. Diaphragm is nothing but a dome-shaped muscle below the lung, and this intercostal muscle they pulls the ribs. They pull the ribs downwards and inward. Okay, so there are two kind of muscle: internal intercostal muscle and external intercostal muscle. यहाँ पे दो टाइप के intercostal muscle होते हैं. Internal intercostal muscle they will pull the ribs downward and inward. तो नीचे खींचेंगे और अंदर खींचेंगे so that you can inspire. And external intercostal muscle pulls the ribs upward and outward. ऊपर खींचेगा और बाहर खींचेगा. External intercostal muscle so that you can expire. Because of this intercostal muscle, respiration is possible. Now control of respiration. How respiration is controlled? Normal breathing क्या है? 12 to 15 breath per minute. It is controlled by three mechanisms: chemoreceptors, then central chemoreceptors, and peripheral chemoreceptors. So chemoreceptor means what? These are the specific type of protein which are very sensitive or the changes in the chemical content of particular फॉर एग्जांपल ब्लड, तो केमोरिसेप्टर क्या होती है कि ब्लड का कंपोजिशन जैसे केमिकल कंपोजिशन चेंज हो गया तो वो फटक से मैसेज देंगे किसको, ब्रेन को, किसका केमिकल कंपोजिशन, ब्लड का। ब्लड में क्या है, chemical composition कौन सा, carbon dioxide and oxygen. So there is, if there is change in the concentration or there is change in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide or oxygen in the blood, this chemoreceptor will give the signal. Okay, so chemoreceptors which responds to the changes in the partial pressure of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the blood as well as in the cerebrospinal fluid. Then central chemoreceptor, they are located in the medulla oblongata and also they are sensitive for CSF and arterial pressure. Then third control of respiration is because of the peripheral chemoreceptors. They are situated in the arc of aorta and carotid bodies. जो aorta होता है आपका किसमें, हार्ट में, वहाँ पे एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप के रिसेप्टर्स और प्रोटीन मॉलिक्यूल्स होते हैं. They are sensitive to change in the carbon dioxide and oxygen level in the blood. So they are known as the peripheral chemoreceptors. So these three will regulate the respiration. Okay. For example, you can see over here. So these pain receptors, then thermoreceptors, and these proprioceptors, they will send a signal to cerebral cortex. These three will signal to cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex will signal to respiratory center. जैसे respiration rate कम होगा तो ये signal करेंगे cerebral cortex को, cortex signal करेगा cerebral respiratory center को. And then after that spinomotor neurons will signal and spinomotor neurons will signal to respiratory muscle. Increase the frequency of contraction and relaxation, and it will increase the respiration. Okay. Peripheral chemoreceptors and baroreceptors. Baroreceptor means they are the sensitive for the pressure change. Partial pressure change हो गया तो ये activate हो जाएंगे. Central chemoreceptors. Chemoreceptor means they are sensitive to chemical change in the blood. Baroreceptor means they are sensitive to change in the pressure, partial pressure in the blood. Lungs receptor also are there. So these receptors will signal the directly respiratory center. Respiratory center will signal, will modulate the signal and will send the message via spinomotor neuron or by increase the respiration to the respiratory muscle. That's how this regulation is done. Now again, chemoregulation. Okay, so suppose that there is a decreased ventilation. आप सांस नहीं ले पा रहे हो, आपका ventilation decrease हो रहा है. So suppose that there is a decrease in the ventilation rate or respiration rate. So decrease in the respiration rate means there is a decrease in the partial pressure of oxygen in the blood. So आपका respiratory rate कम हो गया तो partial pressure oxygen का क्या होगा, कम होगा. Okay, आपका blood में क्या होगा, हाइड्रोजन आयन concentration बढ़ जाएगा. So decreased ventilation leads to decreased oxygen partial pressure, increased hydrogen concentration, and increased carbon dioxide partial pressure in the blood. This decreased oxygen partial pressure stimulates the peripheral chemoreceptors. Then this chemoreceptor will signal the brain and brain will analyze what, will decide what to do and signal the pulse. And then there will be stimulation of dorsal group of neuron, that is again a nerve. Then signal will be given to respiratory muscles to increase the respiration, and then you will get increased ventilation. Now this increased hydrogen ion in the blood also stimulate the increased hydrogen ion in the blood will also stimulate the peripheral chemoreceptor, but it has a mild action. Okay. Now increased carbon dioxide partial pressure in the blood will also stimulate the peripheral chemoreceptor mildly. And again this increased partial pressure of carbon dioxide in the blood will have impact on this diffusion of so if there is increased carbon dioxide in the blood, so that carbon dioxide will diffuse into cerebrospinal fluid कि जो blood में carbon dioxide है वो जाएगा CSF में. Okay. जैसे there is a diffusion of carbon dioxide in the CSF, there is a increased amount of hydrogen ion in the CSF and it will stimulate again the central chemoreceptors. Central chemoreceptor will send signal, modulation signal to nerves and then respiratory muscles, and there will be increase in the ventilation. So this is known as a chemoregulation of receptor. Now there are certain important terms regarding the respiration. You have to understand these terms. They are very important. They can ask this in the exam. So what do you mean by tidal volume? So tidal volume is क्या? So it is the amount of air passing in and out of the lung during each cycle of breathing. जैसे आप सांस अंदर लेते हो बाहर छोड़ते हो, एक एक ब्रीथ साइकिल होता है, सांस अंदर लेना सांस बाहर छोड़ना, उसको बोलते हैं वन ब्रीथ साइकिल. सो वन इंस्पिरेशन एंड वन एक्सपायरेशन, दैट इज वन breathing cycle. So amount of air that passes in and out during the cycle, breathing cycle, one breathing cycle known as a tidal volume, and it is around 500 ml at the rest. 100 ml होता है normally at the rest. Next term is nothing but the inspiratory capacity. Inspiratory capacity. So it is again amount of air that can be inspired with a maximum effort. जोर लगा के आप अंदर ले लो सांस, whatever inspiration is there by forceful. Okay, so maximum amount of air that can be inspired with the maximum effort, it consists of tidal volume plus respiratory reserve volume. And vital capacity, next term is vital capacity. इसके ऊपर already GPAT में question आ चुका है. So maximum volume of air that can be removed into and out, maximum amount of air that can be moved in and out of the lung. मैक्सिमम एयर जो है दैट कम्स इन द, कितना कैपेसिटी की मैक्सिमम, कितना आप अंदर सांस ले सकते हो या फिर कितना हवा आप अंदर ले सकते हो, कितना हवा आप बाहर छोड़ सकते हो, दैट इज नोन एज अ वाइटल कैपेसिटी. सो मैक्सिमम वॉल्यूम ऑफ एयर व्हिच कैन बी मूव्ड इनसाइड द लंग्स और आउटसाइड द लंग्स. सो वाइटल कैपेसिटी इज नथिंग बट द, इट इज इक्वल टू tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume plus expiratory reserve volume. So vital capacity is nothing but the tidal volume plus inspiratory reserve volume plus expiratory reserve volume. Now what is meant by inspiratory reserve volume? So this is the extra volume of air that can be inhaled into lungs during the maximum respiration. So normally आपका tidal volume कितना आता है कि 500 ml, ठीक है. उससे ज़्यादा अगर एयर आपने अंदर ले लिया, उसका मतलब ये है कि that is inspiratory reserve volume. Whatever extra is there, inspired tidal volume plus extra, that is the inspiratory reserve. What is expired extra then tidal volume? That is nothing but the expiratory reserve. So जो जितना नॉर्मली सांस अंदर लेते हो बाहर छोड़ते हो वो होता है आपका tidal volume. That is nothing but the 500 ml at rest. फोर्सफुली अगर उससे ज्यादा आपने लेने का ट्राई किया तो वो उसको बोलते हैं इंस्पायरेटरी रिजर्व, और फोर्सफुली उससे ज्यादा आपने बाहर छोड़ने का ट्राई किया तो उसको बोलते हैं एक्सपायरेटरी रिजर्व. सो इंस्पायरेटरी रिजर्व एंड एक्सपायरेटरी रिजर्व. सो एक्सपायरेटरी रिजर्व मीन्स व्हाट? Largest amount of air that can be expelled off from the lungs during maximum expiration. Now, what is meant by residual volume? It is the volume of air remaining in the lungs after forceful expiration. आपने जोर लगा के सांस छोड़ा, कि जोर लगाओ सांस छोड़ो, तो उसके बाद में भी कुछ अमाउंट ऑफ एयर आपके लंग्स में रहता है. So that is a residual volume. So amount of air remaining in the lungs after forceful expiration. Now what do you mean by total lung capacity? So maximum air in the lung that can hold. Okay? Maximum amount of air that lung can hold. Okay? Normal value for this total lung capacity is around 6 liter in the adult. इसका normal value कितना होता है? 6 liters. Actually it represents the sum of vital capacity plus residual volume. तो total lung capacity होता है 6 liters. Tidal volume कितना होता है आपका? 500 ml at rest. वाइटल कैपेसिटी क्या होता है कि टाइडल वॉल्यूम प्लस इंस्पायरेटरी रिजर्व वॉल्यूम प्लस एक्सपायरेटरी रिजर्व वॉल्यूम. ये याद रखो थोड़ा सा, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आ सकता है. सिस्टम इज नथिंग बट द alveolar ventilation. Alveolar ventilation. So ventilation means supply of air to the alveoli. कि एक मिनट में कितना alveoli को एयर सप्लाई किया जा रहा है उसको बोलते हैं alveolar ventilation. So this is the volume of air that can be moved in and out of the alveoli per minute. So amount of air that is supplied or taken off from the alveoli in 1 minute is nothing but the alveolar ventilation. Okay, is equal to tidal volume tidal volume minus anatomical dead space into respiratory rate. Okay, so you can see here alveolar volume is equal to tidal volume minus anatomical dead space into respiratory rate. So normally tidal टाइडल वॉल्यूम होता है आपका 500 ml, एंडोपिकल डेड स्पेस होता है 150 एंड रेस्पिरेटरी डेट ऑन एन एवरेज आप कंसिडर करो 15 और 15. So you can calculate 5.25 liters of air that is going to your alveoli per minute. 5.25 liters of air that is going to your alveoli and coming out from alveoli per minute. Okay, that is known as alveolar ventilation. Now there are certain terms known as apnea. Apnea means what? Absence of respiration. अगर आपका किसी सांस नहीं चल रही तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे? apnea. Apnea. Okay, so particularly this is a apnea. Okay, absence of respiration is known as a apnea. And dyspnea means irregular respiration or irregular breathing or difficulty in breathing. Dyspnea means what? Difficulty in breathing. So bradyapnea means less breathing rate than normal. Okay? So if breathing rate is normal, then it is 15 to 15 to 20 breath per minute. So if it is less than that, it is known as a bradyapnea. जैसे होता है ना, ब्लड प्रेशर होता है, नॉर्मल हार्ट रेट होता है. नॉर्मल हार्ट रेट कितना होता है आपका? नॉर्मल हार्ट रेट 72 बीट्स पर मिनट. तो उससे अगर कम हो गया हार्ट रेट तो उसको बोलेंगे ब्रैडीकार्डिया. अगर उससे ज़्यादा हार्ट रेट होगा तो उसको बोलेंगे टैकीकार्डिया. तो वैसे ही है कि यहाँ पे नॉर्मल आपका ब्रीदिंग रेट कितना है, उससे कम हो गया तो उसको बोलेंगे ब्रैडीपनिया, उससे ज़्यादा होगा तो उसको बोलेंगे टैकीपनिया. So bradyapnea is nothing but the decreased breathing rate than normal. Less than 10 breath per minute is nothing but the bradyapnea. Then again tachypnea means more than 20 breath. More than 20 breath per minute is known as a tachypnea. Then cyanosis is nothing but the bluish coloration of skin due to absence of oxygen. अगर आपको ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिल रहा है तो आपकी स्किन नीली पड़ जाएगी. That is known as a cyanosis.